Today I have called my lesson Sunrise Mysticism. And I use the word mysticism because I want to make it clear that I believe that early morning hours are powerful when used to remember that we are indeed mystics, meaning that we as individuals are connected to God. All of us embody our mystical nature when we choose to connect within to our souls and to spirit and to source. So here are some words from the late Irish poet and theologian John O'Donohue. In Anam Cara, he writes this. It's not on the screen. I saw Rebecca going, oh crap. He wrote this about sunrise. It's too long to put on the screen. He said, if you have ever had occasion to be out early in the morning before dawn breaks, you will have noticed that the darkest time of night is immediately before dawn. The darkness deepens and becomes more anonymous. If you had never been to the world and never known what a day was, how the mystery and color of a new day arrive. Light is incredibly generous, but also gentle. When you attend to the way the dawn comes, you learn how light can coax the dark. The first fingers of light appear on the horizon, and ever so deftly and gradually they pull the mantle of darkness away from the world. Quietly before you is the mystery of a new dawn, the new day. Isn't that a beautiful description? Sunrise is a very special time of the day. So I want to tell you about one extremely memorable sunrise in my life. It was in the fall of 1999, and it came at a time that I would describe as very dark for me. So the previous year, my partner and the co-parent of my daughter, Kelsey, unexpectedly ended our relationship, and I just didn't see it coming. And I quickly grew despondent as I made my first journey into what is called the dark night of the soul. Not my last, but my first. And that dark night just seemed to hang on for too long. I felt hopeless. I felt alone in so many ways. And I couldn't see a future for myself. And despite my inner despair, I was able to continue to be like a good mommy to Kelsey, because her 3-year-old needs were kind of primary in my life at that time. But I was also able to focus on my career, the one place where I felt like I had some control. And that fall of 1999, I was honored to be invited to a leadership meeting that was going to be happening in Maui. And everyone was allowed to invite their significant other. So I felt this deep shame and anger to not have someone special to invite to this big public occasion and celebration of my accomplishments. And since I didn't want to be the only one there without a partner, I went to another coworker, my good friend Keith, not you, different Keith. When I said it, our eyes just locked, oh great. So I went to another coworker, my good friend Keith, who was also invited to the meeting and who also happened to be single. And we agreed that neither of us would invite anyone. We wouldn't take up that extra spot and simply kind of buddy up and enjoy the experience together. It was the first of many times that we ended up traveling together. But on that first long flight from Atlanta to Hawaii, we talked about my recent and overwhelming loss of relationship, and he really encouraged me to recognize that the future may be unknown, but it didn't have to be bad. It just had to be different. And the longer that I called and clung to the idea that it was bad, then the longer it would be bad. So we vowed we were just going to have this amazing time in Hawaii together. And it would start the next morning with a very early wake-up call to go see the sunrise over Haleakala, which is the big volcano in Maui. It's a very touristy thing to do, very touristy thing, but we were ready to do all the touristy things, right? So at 4:30 on the very first morning in Maui, in pitch dark, Keith and I were picked up at our hotel by this van full of other mainland tourists who are called haoles. And I'm sure we laughed that we thought that the tour guides were just laughing behind their backs, like, these people are getting up to come see the sunrise. Oh, well, whatever. But they promised it would be spectacular. And we were willing, all of us were willing to give up extra sleep to go have this unique experience. So we made our way in this pitch dark up to this mountain. And I'll tell more fun stories about that at some point. But anyway, when we got to the top of the mountain, the bus driver gave us all blankets because it was a freezing cold out there at night, way up high. And he shooed us off the bus, like, go watch the sunrise in this cold, dark night. So Keith and I sat in silence and we watched the dawn break over the lava fields before us, and just kind of spreading light and colors throughout this darkness. And a new dawn was breaking that morning, but for me, like a new hope for my life was born as well. And was it the power of the sunrise? Was it the encouragement from Keith? Was it an internal awakening that occurred? I think it was kind of all three. But later that day, I purchased this picture from an art gallery. I brought it this morning because it's very symbolic to me. It's of a woman standing on the top of the mountain, kind of at the peak of her life. And she's standing there under this rain cloud of unexpected origin. But she's standing there with her arms raised, accepting whatever comes, whatever comes. And this hangs in my house to remind me of the power of that decision I made at that sunrise to accept whatever darkness and rain that life may bring my way. I will accept it as a blessing or a lesson or whatever is waiting to be revealed by a greater light, even if it's in the clever disguise as an unexpected ending of relationship. So that's a very memorable sunrise in my life. Raise your hand if you regularly see a sunrise. How about a sunset? How many of you regularly? Okay, good. More hands went up for sunsets. But I think we tend to be one or the other. You know, there's just something special about witnessing the sun beginning its journey across the sky or ending that same journey in the evening. Doing so mindfully reconnects us with this natural flow of the rhythm of the day. So I was doing some reading about shamanism, or the belief system that ties spirituality with the natural world. And I was curious about what the teaching might have for us on this subject about the mysticism of a sunrise. So we have to remember that for most of human history, our daily survival depended upon being in right relationship with the natural world around us. Humans had a very close connection with the physical world until actually quite recently. We recognized that spirit was in the birds and the trees and the rocks and the rivers, in Mother Earth herself. We honored the sun, we honored the stars and the moon, and the rhythms of nature guided our daily activities and decisions not so long ago. On a soul level, there is a deep connection with all of this ancient wisdom that I would like to encourage us to reawaken in ourselves this summer. This need for intimacy with the natural world runs deep in our blood. But we've largely forgotten how to nurture this relationship, because why? The urbanization of our culture and our lives has separated us from the natural flow of the day. And as a result, we've collectively become more and more out of balance with the environment. And we see evidence of that, obviously, collectively in the environmental destruction that we see around us. But this imbalance, in fact, it impacts us individually in unique ways too. And shamanism doesn't ask that we kind of go off the grid, But the teaching does recognize that healing our relationship with nature is essential to the survival of our species and the planet and ourselves if we want to thrive in our lives. As above, so below. As within, so without. And one of the easiest ways to tap into nature's rhythms is to watch the sunrise or the sunset each day, ideally both. And the benefits of this practice are many, but here are a few that I invite you to check out for yourself all summer long. In other words, what could happen for you if you intentionally connected with either the sunrise or the sunset on a regular basis? Could Mother Earth herself gently invite you into the day or quietly signal the day's end, and would you feel something? First, researchers have found that the wavelengths at sunrise and sunset have the biggest impact on the brain centers that regulate our circadian rhythms. And those wavelengths shift our mood and alertness. And I don't know about you, but when I can pause and connect with the sun as it rises or sets, I feel a shift in the atmosphere around me and in my inner self. The day kind of starts more gently when I notice the sunrise, and it passes more slowly into the night when I mindfully watch it go. It's almost like the rays of sun push me gently into the day or out of the day. Do you feel that? So would this gentleness be a blessing? Second, there's something special about the colors we see in the sky as the darkness and light yield to each other. I certainly saw that on Haleakala that morning. And some spiritual teachers say that these hues activate the portal to divine wisdom. And while I can't really speak to that, what I can say is that I feel more connected to spirit when I slow down and watch the colors spread across the horizon. And anything that brings us to mindfulness. And the sunrises and sunsets easily do that, actually, drops us into this inner peace and presence. In other words, they give us a moment to let anything else that might be on our minds and hearts just kind of float away, opening ourselves to connect with our souls and our inner wisdom. So we'll focus on sunrises today, and then next week we'll talk about sunsets. So a sunrise is a primal threshold in nature. And we get a new one every single day, and they are free and they're everywhere. Wherever you are, there's going to be a sunrise. That sounds a lot like spirit to me, right? Wherever you are, there it is. The world rests at night. Trees and mountains and fields and faces are kind of released from the needs and expectations of anything or anyone else. Each thing withdraws back into its own nature within the shadow and the shelter of dark. Darkness is kind of the ancient womb. Nighttime is womb time. And this darkness lets everything be anonymous. And the struggle for identity and expression falls away. We rest in the night. But the dawn is the refreshing time, the time of possibility and promise, and all the elements of nature, stones and fields and rivers and animals are suddenly there, just new in the fresh dawn of light. So just as darkness brings rest and release, the dawn brings awakening and renewal. But we're so distracted that we forget that we're privileged to live in this wondrous universe. But each and every day, the dawn unveils the mystery once again to us. Dawn is the ultimate surprise. It awakens us to the immense there-ness of nature. It's there. All of a sudden, the wonderful, subtle color of the universe just clothes everything at dawn. So right now, as we are closer to the longest days of the year, does anybody know what time sunrise occurs? It's actually 6:40 right now. It's really awesome that our technology can tell us every night before we go to bed what time we can meet spirit at sunrise. I know we're often out walking the dogs right around sunrise or after, and that's a royal we. But I don't know about you, but my early mornings can be very structured and very, routine driven. But could you, just for the summer, intentionally pause and recognize as many sunrises as you can? Why? Because I think there are some universal messages that a sunrise brings to us culturally. And I think they are messages that our spirits need right now. Our souls need them. I'll share some of them. And even if you never get up early enough to see a sunrise, let any image you see of a sunrise come over, if they come across your feed or whatever, then let these lessons pierce your awareness. The first is that darkness is temporary. Man, I needed to remember that in 1999 and in so many times since then. Darkness is temporary. Every single morning we are given spiritual evidence and natural evidence that darkness has no power in the presence of light. And maybe this is a message that you need in your life personally right now. If you've been in a dark time in your life, let each sunrise remind you that this too shall pass, that everything is cyclical and night always gives way to a new day. And witnessing the sun's cycle restores faith that all will be okay. We enter darkness, but light always follows. It always comes again. And the sunrise is that perfect symbol of hope and restoration. Feel that truth in every sunrise. I don't know if you've ever read anything by Muhammad Ali, but he is actually quite a philosopher. And he wrote this: rest but never quit. Even the sun has a sinking spell each evening, but it always rises the next morning. At sunrise, every soul is born again. Another message that a dawn brings is that new beginnings are not only possible, they're mandatory. Every day is a new day, and nothing about yesterday can come into today unless we bring it with us. We carry it forward. We can start something new today. Then the sunrise is like perfect starting line for that new thing. It's almost like a cheerleader that says, here's a brand new day to use for your betterment, for your growth, for your healing, for something new. Let the sun whisper those words to you when you wake up in the morning, and greet it every day that you can. Greet the sun, and it will faithfully whisper to you day after day, today is a fresh new day. The question becomes, what do I need to sunrise in my life? This is a question that we're going to percolate with all summer. What do you need to start? What do you need to freshen up with new light? Where do you need to remember that a new beginning is possible? Or how about mandatory? Let's let each sunrise this summer remind us that we can begin again with any area of our experience. We can make a new choice. We can start a new thing. Matter of fact, we should begin and choose again and start things. So over the course of the summer on many topics, there will be suggestions from the materials, but also inner nudges within you to start something new or refresh something. Let the symbolism of the sunrise remind you that Spirit is with you every single day to give you ideas and strength and inspiration and resilience as you go. And since so few of you raised your hand that you witness a sunrise, let's stretch our definition of sunrise to simply be the morning. I won't ask all of you to welcome the day at sunrise, but to welcome the morning in a sacred way. There's something very spiritual and wise in starting the day in an intentional way, whether it starts at 6:40 or not. That's not the biggest point. Can we spend the summer together starting our day with intentionality? Is there a practice you could add to your morning routine that would be just as regular as you brushing your teeth or putting on your shoes? Be thinking about that. And some of your handouts at the very beginning of summer will give you some ideas. And would you join me this summer in sharing sunrises with each other? So let's use our members page on Facebook to share our sunrise experiences. Take a selfie with a sunrise and post it. Tell us where you are, or maybe what thoughts you were having as the sun rose this morning. Take a photograph of any sunrise you personally witnessed and just make it your wallpaper on your phone or your computer, or just a spiritual reminder that the day is possible, something new. Sunrises are spectacular. Mehmet Murat Ildeen said this: sunrise looks spectacular in the nature. Sunrise looks spectacular in the photos. Sunrise looks spectacular in our dreams. Sunrise looks spectacular in the paintings because it really is spectacular. So I invite you to share memes or quotes or any pieces of wisdom that you hear about sunrises and sunsets throughout the summer. I remember when I started writing this summer materials, I don't know, months ago, I was attracting those messages to me. I kept getting memes and things about sunrises. I'm hoping it will haunt you as well. And just my invitation to you is to take this summer to make each day intentional, and it starts at the very beginning. Walt Whitman said, "Give me odorous at sunrise, a garden of beautiful flowers where I can walk undisturbed. Find a place undisturbed to enjoy your sunrise, whether in a garden of beautiful flowers or standing on your front steps or sitting along a waterfront, driving in your car, walking the dogs, or climbing your own personal Haleakala. Notice the early sunrise and let it bless you." Will you pray with me? I just take a deep breath and remember that each day is a gift, and it starts with something so very beautiful, and starts with colors and light and newness and an invitation for a greater way of being, a greater expression of ourselves each day. And I know for each person present that willingness to allow Spirit to meet them in each morning. And as we affirmed, I choose to meet myself there too. And so I know for each person a greater awakening to the power of a morning. And I know that we are blessed by this experience and blessed by this summer that we will share. It's a new beginning, a way to start. And so it is.
And so it is.